Everyone, and welcome to another Liverpool Transfer Show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Slightly different format today. We'll of course discuss transfers, but we have a game coming up tomorrow. Not a competitive game as such, still pretty much has a preseason vibe, and that is the Community Shield between Crystal Palace and Liverpool. So we'll do a match preview towards the end of the show. But we'll do now, we'll speak about some of the rumors that are circulating on the airwaves and see if there's any further development. So, no place to start, but the story surrounding Alexander Isak. Now, this is what we've been getting. So earlier this morning, there was a tweet going around. I can't remember who it was now, but I have made a note of it. So the tweet said that Newcastle United have informed Alexander Isak that he will not be sold this summer, blocking a potential move to Liverpool, which has caused significant frustration according to sources, which of course is very understandable from Isak's point of view. But anyhow, of course, doing press conferences, said that he doesn't have a fitness issue because there has been some rumors suggesting that he's still got a bit of a knock. That's why he's not actively involved in the squad. And he said that in quotes, I'm aware of a feeling within the squad that there's something there not to the benefit of the group. And he also said something along the lines, in regards to Isak staying at the club, he says, no, that's not something that he's aware of. He says, I'm not partly to all discussions, but I have no knowledge of that. So, even though he's probably doing a negotiation because I don't believe there's a director of football there, he's trying to, step his name to one side and not make it make it appear that he's not part of the dialogue. Of course he is, but um my initial thoughts on the sort of tweet that was branded around this morning um that he will not be sold. I don't completely buy that, to be honest with you. I even saw something earlier on today that he was offered a third contract offer, which of course he instantly rejected. So I don't know what Newcastle are playing at because we have to take it with a pinch of salt. There was no sort of official confirmation that a new contract was offered today. But if there's any truth to that, honestly, I don't know what game Newcastle playing because the guy clearly wants to leave. He's had enough. The promises have been broken, and there's no coming back. He's pretty much done as much as he can to engineer moving away from the club. And Newcastle, even from their point of view, they've made it pretty clear that they're not happy with what he's doing, and therefore they've asked him to train on his own, not to be part of their preseason preparations. So it's not like they've tried to accommodate him. The only thing that they haven't done is probably find him, but behind the scenes, they know that they're kind of in the wrong because they promised him, that he'll probably get his move, whenever there's an interested club in him, and I think that was communicated this time last year. So because of that, Liverpool are, of course, one of the probably not even one of we are the team that he wants to join, and the team that are still showing interest in signing Isak. But Newcastle playing hardball for whatever reason, I actually don't know now. It's gone past such a different way of thinking now, where I originally thought they're going to try and do what they can to get the most out of the deal or the most money in this scenario, but it's all good and well trying to get as much money as you want, but you still got to try and find the right replacement, find the right players for the squad because they're not just replacing Isak, they're replacing Callum Wilson, who also left the club as well. So they need two attackers in their squad, and they still haven't been able to sign one. They have made a lot of approaches for attackers in this window, but nothing has come to fruition. Like today, for example, Sesko was presented to the United fans at Old Trafford today, which is, I don't feel like it was even made official on social media. He literally just walked on the pitch and was like alongside Cunha and Mbeumo to make it seem like that's the new front three of Manchester United. And, that's something for us to be worried about. I'm not worried about that at all. But that must have been a kick in the teeth to Newcastle United because they thought he would have been the guy that would have come in. At one point, it was Ekitike, but of course, we, had strong interest in Ekitike and we did what we had to do and try and get him over the line. So They've got a lot of work to do right now. The latest target is Samuel Ogahowa, who is a striker from Porto. So he's someone that is an interesting profile. Chelsea were very close to signing him last year. Very big, very strong, prolific striker. So he could be the one that comes in. And I've also seen some rumors around Kolo Muani, but I've also seen some reports suggesting that he wants to stay at Juventus. So it's not like they're getting their way. So Kolo Muani, another name just talked off because it doesn't look like he wants to join Newcastle and he wants to stay where he is right now. So Newcastle needs to just get their act together because right now it's getting a bit embarrassing because I feel like we're like big brothers right now. We're trying to watch little brother to make some moves right now, but they're not doing anything. So unfortunately, we're having to play the waiting game because I feel like once they sign their strikers, that's when I feel like they're going to give us that invitation, to make that bid. But I've said it before. I was expecting some developments around this time. I think from next week onwards, if there is no movement in terms of Newcastle finding a replacement, Liverpool just need to go aggressive and just place that bid. And let's see what Newcastle do because it's all going to well being, cooperative in this sort of manner, but they're not getting the job done. We can't just sit around and wait for them forever. If they don't have the pull, they don't have the attraction to get new players coming through the window, then what's the point? So, from a Liverpool point of view, we've wasted a lot of time on this saga, and a lot of fans are getting bored of it now, which is understandable. But I still having that hope that we get Isak. For me, he's just going to be that game changer that we need in our squad, and I really hope we get over the line very soon because it has been dragging. But I also thought it was one of those transfers that will drag just because of Newcastle's nature. They're going to try to hold on to him for dear life. If you believe the rumor, apparently they offered him a contract as well today, which is absolutely crazy. But we'll see what happens. Right now, Isak pretty much feels like a prisoner. So the hashtag has been free Isak for a long time on my show. And yeah, it will remain until he's able to leave because he's not getting what he wants. He's basically being held at a place where he doesn't want to be there anymore. So let's hope we get some sort of development. But right now, yeah, it's very frustrating for Liverpool. And I don't honestly, if we don't get him, I do you know what? I think Liverpool will just wait until the next window and see, if there's a chance to get him in January or next year because I don't think we've got anyone earmarked as replacements. But I did see something online today which caught my attention, and I don't know if there's any truth to it. So do take it with a pinch of salt because I'm not entirely sure. Apparently, we've been linked with Yoane Wissa, um, which for me sounds absolutely wild. So apparently, the rumors that we're interested in beating Newcastle to the signature of Yoane Wissa, because Liverpool aren't unable to sign Isak. That was the rumor going around earlier on this morning. Now, I think that is pure nonsense. We are not trying to get Yoane Wissa, as petty as it sounds, because clearly it's like you want to Ekatike, we'll take him. We want Isak, but you're not giving us Isak. Fine, we're gonna get the next target, which is Wissa. Wissa's been one of the names that's been constantly linked with a move to Newcastle. But I don't think we're gonna get Wissa. As petty it is, as funny it would be to sign him. I don't want us to sign Wissa. Not that he's a bad player. I just have a sort of a high expectation, for what I want from my club, and I don't think Wissa um, is the striker that I want. I want someone that's a bit more accomplished, especially if it's going to be someone that challenges Ekatike or even starts ahead of him. They need to be at a high level. For me, Isak is the guy and the only guy in my opinion that fits that bill. So let's see what happens. I'm just gonna go through some of the comments before we move on to the next rumors. Daz, big up Daz as always said, big up Ozzy. Where do you think we can pressure Palace tomorrow? I'll speak about the match towards the end of the show. And yeah, so stay on board. We'll be talking about the match very shortly. Brad Pitt fan, he says this saga's becoming boring now. It is. I'm not gonna lie, Brad Pitt fan. You you have a point there. It's just been dragging on, and I just feel like it's boring from both sides. And I've got, Newcastle fans that have commented on the show, and they're saying they're fed up as well. From our side, it's just like we're being too nice. We're not being aggressive. We're not placing, official bids. If Liverpool placing bids and it gets rejected, then Liverpool being aggressive. But right now we're like chilled. We're like, all right, fine, do what you gotta do, find your replacements, and then we'll make that official bid. I don't want us to play any sort of nice formalities anymore. I want us just to put the cash on the table and say, look, this is the money. If you want it, give us Isak. If not, we're gonna walk away, and you're gonna have even more issues trying to find reinforcements for your squad because you won't have the finances now. So Liverpool got to play 4D chess. They got to be a step ahead and make sure that we force their hand and pretty much get them to do a deal now because they know a deal's going to be done now at some point. The player's gone AWOL. He's unsettled. He's frustrated. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to be at Liverpool. So let's just make everyone happy where he gets his move. Newcastle get the money to reinvest into the squad and can finally maybe throw some money in the air and attract some players because right now whatever pitch they're doing or whatever money they're offering is not working. So they need fresh ideas or they need new money to attract these players, but we'll see. It is getting boring, and I do get a lot of the fans' frustrations. Mazzy, big up Mazzy, says Aussie, Darwin has gone tonight, confirmed by Liverpool FC. What's going to happen with Isak? Diaz gone and Jota gone to the heavens. We need a tackle very soon. So yeah, just before we went online, I saw the video from Al Hilal where they revealed Darwin Núñez as their signing. I saw the official tweet from LFC as well. You have to get an attacker. It's a must. Absolutely a must for us to get an attacker. I'd go far as say that we need an attacker in terms of a striker and a winger. I don't think a striker is enough. If it is and it ends up being Isak, then I'll be very pleased with that signing because of course that is a signing that would definitely just present some shock factors to a lot of the fans, but also makes our team complete as well. It's just that with the extra winger, I feel like it just gives us more depth as the season goes along. So for me, a striker is a must. And if it's not Isak, it's going to be interesting what happens because I don't think we would have a striker in mind to replace him, but maybe we end up signing a winger. So the Barcola rumors, you can't rule it out. It could be a possibility where he ends up being the alternative, and then we go for Isak maybe next summer or in the next window, which will be in January. So let's see. But we definitely need reinforcement. We can't go into this season without signing a striker because Ekitike is the only recognized striker in this team. Chiesa, I guess, can be the backup for that, but then you don't have strength in depth. On the left side is Gakpo. I guess you could put Rio there, but for me, that's a bit too soon to push him as the direct backup for Gakpo. Salah doesn't have an understudy, and it's Verts and Szoboszlai. So we're very thin in terms of the squad right now. Harvey looks like he's going to be moving, but even Chiesa, there's no guarantee he'll stay. So if these players go, we need a good few additions, in my opinion. So somewhat I'm going to say Ben Dock might stay. Not sure about Ben Dock to be fair. If he stays, I wouldn't really have too much qualms about it. He'll provide cover for that right wing, so it wouldn't be a bad option. But for me, it's not the caliber of players that I wanted in the squad. You know, we're all expecting Isak to join. And I don't want to sound ungrateful that if we don't get Isak, it's a terrible window. I'm not saying something to those kind of sentiments there, but for me, it's more so that we've let go of Nunes and Diaz. We need to find like for like replacements for them. That's the key here. So as long as we can do that, then I'm already excited about this window. But for me, I'll have more confidence going into next season with a more complete squad. Brad Pitt fan says, "Who is our target if we don't get him? If we don't get Isak, I think we may switch our attentions to Barcola, who's not a like for like replacement for Isak because they are players that play in different positions. But what will happen is Barcola would be either the main starter in the team, and then you have Gakpo as your left wing cover, and on the right hand side it would be Salah, and potentially Ben Dog, and then you have Ekitike and then Chiesa as your backup striker. So decent cover, but doesn't give you that sort of invincible feeling. If you had Isak and Barcola, then yeah, we're laughing. But even if it's just Isak, then there's Isak, Ekitike, Gakpo, Salah, Verts. It builds it a bit more if that makes sense. So and then you've got young Rio coming through. So I don't know. I really want it to be where we sign uh Darwin's replacement, which of course should be Alexander Isak. But let's see. I still believe and I still have confidence that we will. But when you're hearing so much negative news or rumors that Newcastle don't want to do any business now, I don't know what they're doing, honestly. Just because they can't attract their players to their club, that is not our problem. That is a you problem to Newcastle, where you need to try and address that position. Stop shopping in Harrods. You might have to drop down and shop at Tesco's and find yourself a Tesco type player. There's no point of you shopping where the big boys are because you're not going to win. So lower the expectations, sign Premier League proven strikers like your Wissers, like your Ollie Watkins. Those are players that I feel like will improve Newcastle straight away. They've got such a great foundation in their squad. I just feel like they're trying to go for that big name, but you know, find the right profile, find the person that's going to be effective in your squad. Don't just go for names to give fans that excitement factor in the beginning, but then when they see those players in the pitch, maybe it doesn't work, or maybe they don't gel. Whereas if you go for Wissa and a Watkins, these are short-term solutions. Then next season, you've got 12 months to scout that next big thing, and then you can try and get them on board. So they have to be a bit more strategic because they're not able to attract Sesco's, Ekatikas. They're not able to attract those type of strikers. So they're not doing things the right way, and their fans are frustrated. Forget us for a second. Newcastle fans are very annoyed about the situation because they know Isak wants to leave, so they've already, you know, washed their hands and feel like, oh, let him go now. We've had enough of him. He's tarnished his legacy at Newcastle. Let him go now. So they're fed up and they want to see the back of him now. But Liverpool, we're waiting, but we just aren't doing the aggressive thing to make that bid. So I hope in the next few days Liverpool do something and forget, doing all of these nice formalities and just place that bid and see, what Newcastle are about. Because if they need the money, they'll accept it. If not, then we just have to forget about it because it's just been dragging on. Season starts next week. I wanted Isak to kind of be agreed or pretty much wrapped up before the season begins, but doesn't look like that's going to happen right now. As it stands, anyway, you never know. Manny says, if the Isak saga continues, then would you take Brandy Barcola? 100%. That would be the guy that I would take. Not a striker, but adds real depth and real quality to our lineup. In fact, I go one far ahead and say that if we sign Barcola, he's the starting left winger in our team. And then Gakpo will have to sit on the bench. Rio will have to continue development under 23s. And it will still be Brandy Barcola, Ekitike, and Salah as our front three, which for me is a formidable front three there. So I don't think that's a bad front three. I would say that's a good alternative. And then maybe go for Isak next year. Let's see what happens. Brad Pitt fan says we can't go in the season with three fours. The numbers are low, so that's my concern. It can't just be where we have one attacker. Ideally, it should be a striker and a winger. But right now, I don't even know who that winger would be. I'd love for it to be Barcola and Isak, but then I feel like I'm just being a bit too uh, excited. I'm being a bit too you know, ahead of myself, thinking we're going to get two superstars like that. So let's see, because financially it is possible, but I just don't know if Liverpool are going to make those moves currently. Uh, Brad Pitt fans said Wissa is good, but old for us. Yeah, he's 29, isn't he? So yeah, not the right profile for us. But I thought maybe there's been paying for. We'll just take the other target as well. AR says, big up Aussie and chat. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to AR. It is how you like and subscribe. You never walk on. I'm good, thank you. I hope you're doing well, AR. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for tuning in. Dev says, do you think we get another striker? If yes, who? Also, who would you give the number 9 shirt on to Aussie? So I think if we don't get Isak, which I don't think will be the case, I think we will get him, but it's just going to drag a little bit longer. So we'll have to just buckle up and wait, and until we get that deal concluded. But if we don't get Isak, I don't think we get another striker. I think we'll wait to get Isak because history will tell you that when Liverpool have found their number one target and he's still relatively available, and I say relatively available is that he hasn't left his present club, Liverpool will wait and make sure that they get their man eventually. So whether that's in January or next summer, that's what Liverpool do. They'll wait and buy their time and try and get him in due course. So for me, I think we won't get another striker. What we will do is just sign someone that ends up being a more versatile forward. So like a Bradley Barcola who pretty much replaces Diaz like for like in the team, but if needed, he can also play up front as well. So I think Bradley Barcola ends up being that signing. I'd wanted to really sign another forward after that, but I don't think that. I think it'll be Bradley Barcola and then possibly um, a centre back as well. So let's see. Let's see what happens. But I feel like we won't sign another attacker if it's not Isak. Now, in terms of who gets number 9, at this stage, no one gets number 9 because even if Isak was to join, he might want number 14. But that's if Chiesa stays, then of course he's not going to get number 14. So if Isak joins, then I think Isak will be our number 9, and rightly so because he will be our main striker. He will be the gunman. He will be our number 9 on paper. So it would make perfect sense for him. Um, so I would say Isak. But right now, I don't know to be fair. And if Bradley Barcola joined, I don't know if he'd take number 9 to be fair. He's not really. That's not really his number. But yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens. Uh, Roger Penguins, so he says, we need a world-class attacker. We have sold 3 main attackers. I am sure Richie Hugh has something big lined up. Who do you think we'll get? I still believe we'll get Isak. You know, call me optimistic or some might even say I'm delusional. I feel like we will get Isak. It's just got to play that game right now where we have to just bide our time and wait for Newcastle to come across as desperate and then, we made that bid. I still feel like we'll get Isak. The winger is interesting. I would love for it to be Balcon. I just don't think it will happen. Um, but I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna say Isak and Barcola. That would just complete the window for me. And of course, a centre back. We do need a centre back because that is a position where I'll be honest with you guys, we do need to address. Because if we're not able to address that position, it could be problematic for us because we've got Virgil van Dijk, of course, we've got Konate, two fantastic centre back, and of course a great pairing as well. But past that, we've got only Joe Gomez that is an established centre back in our squad. So we've only got 3 real centre backs in our team, and then you go further down the squad, and then you end up finding Endo, Gravenberch, who end up being a makeshift type of centre backs, but I don't mind I don't mind Endo being that makeshift centre back, but I don't want it to be where um I don't want it to be where Gravenberch is utilising that role because for me that's not the position for him. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I would love for it to be Isak and Barcola, but I think it'll be one or the other. I don't think it'll be both. So that's just my current feeling, I guess, regarding the latest rumours of attacker joining Liverpool. AR said it makes me laugh about Newcastle United, small club in a big pond, no pulling power, no project. Isak wants to leave. Facts. They're shopping in the wrong place. I mentioned earlier on. They're shopping in Harrods when they should be in Tesco's right now. It's become a bit of a joke. AR said we need 2 centre backs, number 9 and a winger. 100%. Those are the positions I feel like we need to address, but I don't think it'll be that kind of volume. I think it'll be number 9, centre back, and maybe a winger. That's the most I think we'll do. You're saying we need a sitter and a CDM role. I don't think we'll address that this summer. Of course, it would be amazing for us to add another CDM to our squad, but I don't think we'll do that this summer. I think that will be something for next summer. I think we've probably got someone in mind or players in mind for that position. So I don't think that will be the case for us. Um, also, we need to offload Tsimikas, Reece Williams, Karen Ramsey, Dog, Elliot, Chiesa, Bacic. Out of those, I think Tsimikas, I'm actually going to talk about him very shortly. Reece Williams, 100% needs to go. Cameron Ramsey, he needs to go, but he'll probably be loaned out because there's no real attraction to signing right now. Ben Dog, I think he should be sold because his stock is quite high right now. but we may decide to keep him for one more season. Elliot looks like he's on the verge of leaving. Chiesa, I think, will stay for another season. And Matic is injured, so we can't get him off the books right now. So he'll probably end up staying at the club. Bye Nunes, yeah. Bye Nunes indeed. Crystal Palace, Liverpool lineup and prediction. I'll be doing that very shortly. We'll do that towards the end of the show. Uh, he has confirmed our next fixture, which is Bournemouth, Newcastle, Arsenal, Burnley, and Everton. So yeah, looking forward to those games coming up. Um, AR said Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, United, and Spurs are on our heels. We need to strengthen that in the right area. I think we strengthened the squad really well. Honestly, guys, I don't want it to be where because of the Isak pursuit, we forget what we've done this summer. We've signed some really good players in our squad. So Ekatike for me looks a fantastic player. Really excited to see how he does. Verts looks absolutely amazing. The way he plays. Then you've got Frimpong, Kerkez, who are a new sort of dimension to our fullback positions. They are going to bring something fresh and new to our team. And then you've still got the likes of, McAllister. So Bozla playing the double pivot looks, reborn in that position. Looks like a different player altogether. That can also be an option for the number 10 role, but can also play on the wings if required. Gakpo, I'm expecting a big season from him. Rio looks like an exciting prospect for us coming through the ranks. Chiesa, it looks like he's gaining a bit of fitness now. So if he stays, he's certainly going to be an option for us. So we've got some great talent in our squad, and I feel like these sort of players, like Isak, would just be a game changer. Oh, of course it would be. Barcola, of course, another one. But for me, we just need to make sure we have the numbers, we have the right players that will provide cover throughout the season. So for me, after the Isak deal, I'd go over to and get the centre back, and then I'd think about a winger. If we don't get a winger in this window, it's not the most what sort of worst case scenario. I still feel like we've got enough attackers to fill the voids in those kind of areas. For me, we need to get centre back after Isak. That is a must. And the only player that I want right now is Mark Gay because I feel like he ticks a lot of boxes. So for me, it's very important that Liverpool can get that over the line. We've not got too long, just under 3 weeks. So yeah, not long to go. Yeah, so Isak saga is dragging too long. Yeah, it is. Ratchet Painting says, do you think Newcastle can force Isak to stay because his mind and heart is on LFC? Is it worth keeping an unhappy player who might not try his best, which will affect Newcastle's Premier League results? And I'm not going to say it's from a biased point of view because we're Liverpool fans. It doesn't make sense to keep a player unhappy. History will tell you that those players never really, showcase their talent. The only time it works is when someone pretty much said, this is my last year. I'm going to give you my all for this season. So please, because I, promised you an extra season, please make sure that next summer you grant me my wish of a move away from the club. So that is the time when a player really, starts hitting the heights. That's what happened with Coutinho. That's what happened with Suarez to an extent as well. So players do perform at a high level or really show more hunger in their performances in order to get that next move. And I think that's what happened with Isak, but he's not getting that move right now. So it kind of gives me Harry Kane vibes, where Harry Kane thought he was going to get that move to Man City a few years ago, and then Daniel Levy was like, nope, it's not happening. Even though they had a gentleman's agreement that if someone placed an offer that met the valuation, then they would have spoken to the club and they would have tried to conclude a deal, but it didn't happen. So for me, it doesn't make sense to keep him on board. The fans seem to be annoyed with the player, and I feel like the club have shown their stance. They're not happy with him, so they're telling him to train by himself, and they're not really been welcoming with him at all. So it's going to be interesting. Of course, if the window closes and he's still there, then the fans will have to kind of just let it slide and support the player because he's a contracted player, so you're gonna have to support him to one extent. But I hope that doesn't happen. I hope he does get his move and he ends up joining Liverpool because for me it should be happening. It's just gone far too long. We've got the money. We're willing to spend the cash now. So for me, it's something that needs to be done and dusted now. It's just dragged on far too long. Man said, "Look, Ozzy, what's the latest news on us getting a defender? Is Mark Gay still likely?" Um, that might drag as well. Unfortunately, I feel like the interest is strong from Liverpool. The player, from what I've read, in terms of reports, has suggested that he wants a move to Liverpool. So the only stumbling block is the transfer fee because Mark Gay is on a contract that has only 1 year remaining, and Crystal Palace are doing their best to try and get the most out of the situation. So because of that, they're trying to ask for £50 million, and that's not what Liverpool are willing to pay. Liverpool are willing to pay around £40 million. So my prediction is that we will sign the player this window, but we'll have to break the bank a little bit. I think we'll meet them in between and sign him for 45 million. That is what I think will end up happening. So let's see what happens. But I don't expect it to happen soon. I think it'll be towards the latter stages of this window. Um, AR says Maldashvili, Frimpong, VVD, Konate, Kirke, Sobozlai, Grab, Gakpo, Verts, Salah, Ekitike, Bench, Woodman, Pexi, Neoni, sorry, Tsimikas, Robo, Endo, Elliot Rio, Jones, Maka, Dance, weak centre backs and the mid forwards. AR says I hope Allison gets back. Joe Gomez and Bradley come back fit. Yeah, I don't think I think Allison's just returned from Brazil. So it'll be interesting to see, if he's selected for tomorrow. Joe Gomez and Bradley, from what I've heard, they're not available for this fixture. So, especially Joe Gomez and even Bradley to an extent. Let's not rush them because they are, prone to a few injuries in recent times. So hopefully that is not the case. AR said Newcastle United can't keep an unhappy for their squad likes Isak. Yeah, they shouldn't, but just because they shouldn't doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So Newcastle apparently tried to offer him a new contract today, which is wild rumors for me. So yeah, let's see what happens. Um, Raji Painting says, I think it's best we get Isak. He will be a game changer. If you got Barcola, then it's going to stop Rio from becoming a star because Barcola is better at getting past defenders and dribbling. I think in terms of the profile of Barcola, I think that's the type of player we need in our squad. With Rio, I understand people's reservations that if Barcola came in, then Rio's path to the team, might reduce or he might not be able to get a clear pathway in the season. But I think with Rio, we just have to be a bit more careful. We need to let him develop in his own time, his own speed. And once he's, fully up to gear, then I feel like that's when he'll break into the team. My sort of forecast for him is that I think he'll be involved in the squad a bit more in the second part of the season where Salah goes over to AFCON, then we will need that extra attacker in the squad. So that's when I think, you know, Rio will be a bit more of an active member in the first team squad, and then he'll be playing in the cup games like the FA Cups, the fixture as well as the Carabao Cup. Hopefully, we're at that stage as well in terms of progression. So I expect him to be, in and around the team this season, but not a direct sort of backup for Gakpo. I think that would be a bit too soon, in my opinion. And I've also said that this might sound a bit harsh or a bit too direct. That when it comes to Liverpool Football Club, I want us to have the best squad right now. I don't really want to be, or I don't want the club to be cautious, thinking, oh, this player, if we buy a player that's similar to him, it blocks his pathway. I want it to be where we have all of the top quality players in our squad to go for all the titles right now. Because right now, Liverpool are in a position where commercially and from a footballing point of view, we're in our peak right now. We are on top of our game. We are very sort of like high amongst the best teams in the world right now. So, we have to take advantage of the situation. Liverpool aren't or haven't been like this for a long, long time. Of course, under Jurgen Klopp, we've won Champions League and Premier League titles, but it's not been at a consecutive level. I want us to go back to back and try and get another Premier League title, as well as challenge for the Champions League, as well as the domestic cups. So for me, I want our squad to be, full of so much quality that whatever team we field, people are fearing us whenever they face us. So for me, that's the key going forward. And with Barcola, he does predominantly play on the left, but he can play on the right hand side. He can play up top as well. So for now, he'll be that versatile forward, and I think Rio will get his time eventually as well. So let's see what happens. Right now, it's a bit unclear, if we're going to get Isak, Barcola, both or neither. We don't really know right now. So we'll just have to wait and see. LFC 20, big up yourself. He says, India is reporting that we started talks today at 4 p.m. about Mark Gay. Opening bill was £29 million, but then but they now it will be rejected. 29 is low. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. If that is 29 million, and that is a genuine case there, then that's low. And I don't know why Liverpool bid is so low. If that is the offer, because I know we've shown interest before. I don't know if we made official bids, because when you've social media, you don't know if it's official or not. So I've heard that we've had chats um with Crystal Palace, and I think it was in the region of 35-40 million. But 29, if that is an official bid, that's low. That we're gonna have to boost up to at least 40. 29 for me, I don't think they'll probably just slam the door in our face. That is not even a realistic offer. So Liverpool have to be careful here. If that is true that we bid it that much, then we might have to forget about it, because Newcastle are in for a market for a centre. I know they're signing Malik Fial from AC Milan, who, by the way, is a good player. He looked decent against us a couple of weeks ago. Um, but they could still do with another defender. They have, I guess, a vacant space because they don't have too many centre back options. Chelsea, even though they have an abundance of centre backs in their squad, they've just got some uh sort of bad news in terms of Levi Colwill picking up an injury that could rule him out for the rest of the season. So they would need to sign another replacement if you believe the rumors. I don't think they do. They've got about 8 centre backs on the cards, but maybe they feel like they need to get someone of higher quality, which does make sense as well. So Liverpool can't really play too many mind games here. Um, let's hope there's still continued dialogue, and it's not being completely rejected. Because I feel like that's quite low. Um, I I'd be very surprised if they even accepted anything in the 30 region. I think 40 would have been the minimum that they'd got accepted. So let's see what happens. Very interesting to see that news breaking earlier today. Uh, Real McCoy says, "Move with your fake news." You know, LFC 20 is just basically reporting what Indy said, isn't it? So it's not come out of LFC 20's mouth. It's just reporting what's come up. Which this is what I do as a content creator. I will go through the net and see what rumors are circulating, and then that's how we begin debates and have these discussions. So yeah, Indy's been on top of his game, so he might have some truth to the news there. LFC 20 says, I think it's just to start the negotiations, possibly. But I feel like the clubs have been in dialogue, so that's a very low offer, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see until what happens next. Now, another player that we've been strongly linked with recently is Giovani Leoni. Now, a few days ago, the rumor was that we are in strong pursuit for the Italian centre back, but now apparently Parma have rejected a bid from Liverpool in the region of 35 million euros, which equals to 30.3 million for Giovanni Leoni. Uh, the Italian side are apparently not budging on their valuation, which is 40 million euros, which equals to 34.8 million pounds for the defender that could be the next big thing, in my opinion. So my thoughts on the speculation. If we have made a bid, then just stump up that extra 5 million euros. Come on, because this player, honestly, I'm not just getting overexcited. I've seen a few compilations, and the more I watch him, the more impressed I get. I feel like he's going to have a great future ahead of him, and he looks like he could be the player that comes into our team, and dare I say it, could be a long-term successor to Van Dijk. He's got that kind of profile about him. That's why we looked at Dean Holson as the guy to replace Van Dijk eventually. He has similar traits, but I feel like Leone seems a bit more physical. I've seen him, rough up Lukaku. I've seen rough up Vlahovic in the compilations, and he can handle himself. He's only 18 years of age as well, so he's got a bright future ahead of him, and he's just not one of those defenders that just likes to put their body on the lines and make blocks. He's a ball playing defender, and he's strong. He's aggressive. He's dominant. He's got a great eye for the pass. He likes to carry the ball as well. So for me, he ticks a lot of boxes. So if there's any truth to that bid being rejected, just pay that extra 5 million. Honestly, we've got a future star in our hands in Giovani Leoni, if that is true. So hopefully Federico Chiesa, can have a little phone call, speak to him, and get the Italian lad over to Anfield. So hopefully, if there's any truth to this, hopefully we'll get some development because 5 million, that's not a lot. I feel like the club would definitely up the offer if they feel like that can seal the deal. So let's see. I'm excited by this, but I don't know if there's going to be any further development. So we'll have to wait and see. The next rumor is surrounding Tsimikas. So no direct links to any club as of yet. The strongest team that was linked with him previously was Leeds United. But the rumor is that he could leave Liverpool before the window shuts. Now, do I think that's a possibility? Maybe, but it will depend on our centre back situation because if we're only able to sign one centre back, it might be worth keeping Tsimikas for another season. And the reason I say that is because in my head, I would regard Robertson as a fifth choice centre back in our squad. And if you look at our current squad right now, God knows how long Joe Gomez is out for, but if he's out for some time, right now he's fourth choice. Or is he third choice even? He's actually third choice because it's Virgil Konate and then Gomez is out. Fonz is no longer a Liverpool player. So yeah, he's third choice centre back. Then you got Endo, who's a makeshift centre back. So yeah, it will depend in terms of how many. If we got one centre back, I think it might be worth keeping him in for one more season and then let him go next year. But it depends on Tsimikas as well. If he's not happy about being a squad player for another season, or if he wants to you know move on at some point, then I'm sure there will be interest in the Greek defender because I do feel like he's a quality player. Definitely has a decent game about him. So we'll see. But the current rumor is that uh, we're expecting him to leave by the end of the window. So only time will tell. We'll soon find out, I guess. Uh, Next rumor is Harvey Elliott. Now, apparently, Tottenham Hotspurs have accelerated their transfer talks with Liverpool to sign Harvey Elliott. Now, apparently, a £40 million deal is in the works. Now, I'm not too sure about this one because I felt like Red Bull Leipzig were the front runners, but Tottenham seem to be in pursuit. They want to sign the player. For me, it comes down to his preference now. I think in terms of the financial element of the deal, both clubs will be able to place at least £40 million for Harvey Elliott. So that's not an issue for me at the minute because Red Bull Leipzig have just sold Sesko, so they've got money in the bank. They're also on the verge of selling Xavi Simons as well to Chelsea, so that's another 50 million in their bank. So they have the finances to acquire those players. Um, but it depends on Harvey Elliott. Is he willing to move over to the Bundesliga? i- is that a move that attracts him or appeals to him? Because it might not appeal to him. He might just rather stay in the Premier League. If it was the only option, then he might consider. But because he's got an option in Tottenham Hotspurs, who will be playing Champions League football this season, who are an established club in the league, they've got a fantastic stadium, they've got a loyal fan base. So it might be a move that attracts Harvey Elliott. So only time will tell, if that is a deal that could happen for him. But I think from a footballing point of view, it would make more sense for him to go to Red Bull Leipzig. I feel like the league will suit his skill set more. It's played at a slow speed. I feel like he'll be able to get more game time. It will be a bit more impactful in that team. Um, so yeah, only time will tell. But if the Tottenham news is serious, I could see him staying in the Premier League, if I'm being honest. So let's see what happens. Before we move on, I'm just going to read some of the comments here. Uh, let's start with Sean. Big up Sean. He says Palace probably wouldn't want to sell before tomorrow as well. Um, I think even if there was a deal agreed, he wouldn't be in contention to play for Liverpool anyway. So maybe it's something where if there is dialogue in the background, then we'll get further developments after the game. So that point I can understand. Maybe they don't want any reports leaking out that they're in discussions because it might affect the preparations for this game. But I think Liverpool and Palace are quite way off in terms of the valuation of the player. So that's going to rumble on a little bit more, in my opinion. S20 says he might not play tomorrow. Let's see. Sean's asking, is it because of injury or because of the news? Oh, so LSC says maybe because of the news, but okay, we'll see. We'll see what the team is for tomorrow. Um, if he doesn't play, yeah, it would be interesting to be fair. Real McCoy says move with your blood clot Leoni and Isak fake news. Liverpool having bid for Leoni and Newcastle having block Isak move. This is not me reporting fake news. This is what the news is from today in terms of latest rumors and speculation. So, if I was just to come on and do official news, then you'll have to wait for content at least 2-3 weeks on a recurring sort of situation there because there's only so much official news I can present. Of course, Darwin Nunes went today. Um, but otherwise, the whole point of having these transfer shows is to have these discussions. As a community, you're entitled to let me know your thoughts. If a player appeals to you or not. Um, I'm not saying anything. What I'm saying is, gospel. I'm just giving you my thoughts on these rumors. So, in terms of the Leone one, I don't think it's true. But what I said was, if it was, then Liverpool need to stump up that extra 5 minutes because that's the difference in terms of the valuation. Uh, and with the Newcastle one, who knows what's going on? We're getting different rumors or different news coming out from different sources, and it's not really aligning. So only time will tell in terms of what's real, and then we'll I guess we'll find out. We only got a few more weeks left of the window. Taylor May says fake news in terms of which room are you referring to? Let me know in the chat. Sean says don't think Spurs want him anymore. That's what I thought as well, Sean, to an extent. But this was a report that came out yesterday that they're still in pursuit for the player. So who knows? Maybe because of that strong interest that came from Red Bull Leipzig, maybe they've changed their mind and really trying to accelerate the deal and get over the line quicker than planned. So we'll see what happens there. NFC Twin says, I can't lie, it'll be sad to see Elliot leave. It would be because you can tell, the move to Liverpool means so much to him. He's a boyhood red, and this was his dream to play for the club, and his dreams, have come true. And he's definitely, played some great games for us over the years. But unfortunately, with the way the squad is right now and the way Arne Slot wants to play the game, it doesn't quite suit his skill set. And that's not to say he's not a good player. Certain profiles, align with certain philosophies, and I don't think Elliot meets or is in line with how Arne Slot wants to play the game. So there's no shame in that. Just because he doesn't fit our style doesn't mean he doesn't fit anyone else's style. So I think he'll go on and still have a good career for himself. He just needs to, keep his head down, work hard, and I'm sure he'll be a first team starter for another team. So yeah, let's see how it goes. I do wish him the best, but unfortunately, it does look like his days are numbered at Liverpool. And the final news, if you guys are getting annoyed about my other news, you're going to get annoyed about this even further because I did, and that was regarding Allison. So apparently, Fenerbahce manager Jose Mourinho has been offered a chance to sign Liverpool's Alisson after they lost patience over their attempts to sign Ederson. Now, for me, that is complete BS. There is no way that we're selling Alisson to any club in this window just because he's, gone over to Brazil for personal reasons doesn't mean he is not um, he's not available for transfer. He's not. He's not available for transfer. He's of course going through some stuff which we don't know about. And to be fair, if it's personal, it's not really our business. Uh, he has returned, as you can see in the picture there. That is a latest training top. So he's part of the squad now. So for me, he's still pretty much our number one goalkeeper. Whether he starts tomorrow or not remains to be seen. But I don't think he will be um, available tomorrow. But we'll see. I'll do my predicted lineup and predictions very, very shortly. Just comment here before we start. From Anna, she said, brother, Isak not for sale. Are you joking? That's not what I'm saying. Apparently, the rumor today was circulating that Newcastle have told Isak that he's not for sale. and that they are not willing to do a deal with Liverpool. Um, so I don't know what games they're playing at because that doesn't make sense. They need the money, firstly, and secondly, the player is very annoyed about the situation. So he definitely wants to move. It's just a matter of time, in terms of that next step. What happens? And I said earlier in the show, I feel like Liverpool just need to be a bit more aggressive and just place that bid because we're being too nice. We're just waiting for them to find their replacements. But right now, you know, nothing has happened. Nothing has happened along those lines where, we've made that official bid, we've tabled a bid. That's what I'm waiting for because once we table that official bid, we know he's coming because it's going to be a deal that Newcastle can't reject for all sort of reasons. So I don't think there's any sort of truth to it. I think this is just Newcastle journalists trying to appease their fans or trying to show that they've got a strong stance and they can't be pushed over. We'll get our play in the end. I truly believe, and I've said it for weeks and weeks, we will get Isak in this window. Unfortunately, we're just gonna have to play a waiting game because Newcastle are trying to play hardball. For whatever reason, I don't know. I just feel like they're just trying to make it feel like they've done their best to keep Isak so they don't get criticized by their own fan base. But the reality is that they knew Isak was on the verge of leaving or wants to leave and is going to leave at some point, and they just couldn't find a replacement. If they had signed Sesko or Ekitike even, I'm thinking thank God we got Ekitike, but if they had got Ekitike, then Isak would have been through the door a long time ago, in my opinion. So yeah, they're just being they're being a bunch of jokers right now, honestly. So we'll see, what happens, but I'm still confident that we will get Isak through the door. That says, how come we are in the away tomorrow? Is he not read? I think in terms of the way that the fixtures listed, Crystal Palace are the home team and we're the away team. So just due to their colours, we don't want to clash. So that's why we're wearing our white kit tomorrow. Um, LFC20 says Isak Not for sale was fake. Others have said, yeah, it was, but I thought I'd just report in terms of the timeline or in terms of what happened today because journalists that are quite reliable from a Newcastle point of view, they're the ones that released that earlier on today. But then Eddie Howe made some comments in the press conference that pretty much didn't align with what they said. So I did say earlier on it is BS, but I feel like we just have to wait and see because I feel like fans are getting frustrated. They don't know what to believe. I feel like there is some sort of dialogue. We just have to wait and see in terms of when that deal happens. Anish says the new centre back that Newcastle signed can't he play as a centre forward? He might be able to. I don't know, to be honest with you. They might have to put him up there, to be honest with you, or they got to make some sort of makeshift player. Maybe Dan Burns goes over to there as a striker. Who knows? But that's not even a problem that I even want to think about. For me, it's like, look, get whoever you need to get, but please send Isak our way because he wants to leave. We want to sign him. We're willing to stump up the cash. We're willing to break the transfer record. So stop playing hard games right now. Just let us, sign the player. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some developments in the coming days. Now let's quickly move on to the match preview. So of course, in terms of Liverpool Crystal Palace, it should be an exciting game. It won't be a walk in the park, in my opinion, because you've got a team in Crystal Palace where they haven't made a lot of signings. I believe they've only made a couple signings in this window. I thought they would have addressed the squad a bit more because, I know they're not playing the Europa League due to the situation with Leon and UEFA pretty much, moving them down to the Conference League. But even still, you would expect Palace to strengthen the squad a little bit and try and get some more bodies and try and go for that European title. Even if even though it's the Conference League, it's still a big deal for Palace. It's the first time they've entered European competition, so they should go all out and try and get some silver in the end. So for me, um, yeah, I don't feel like they've addressed certain positions in their team. Uh, having said that, they've done well to keep the likes of Mateta, Eze, Adam Wharton, and at this stage, even let's be honest, Mark Gay as well. But of course, only time will tell if those four players remain as Crystal Palace players after the window closes. But they've still got the strength, or should I say, the spine of their team. So they've done well to that extent in terms of keeping up the line. Now, in terms of the team, in terms of Crystal Palace, I'm expecting them to play like a 3-4-3 formation, is what they predominantly played last year. So, of course, they've got Henderson in goal. You've got Richards, Lacroix, and Gay playing in the back three. Then you've got Manuz, uh, and maybe Tyrone Mitchell playing on that left hand side. And then you've got the likes of Lerma, Wharton, who I think will present that double pivot. And then you've got Ismail Assar, who ended up showing some good form last season. Then you've got Eze coming from the left and Mateta through the line. So in terms of the danger men, Eze, because he's the creative spark in that team. Mateta, because he's a very, very difficult defender to attack or defend against, I should say, because when he's in full flow, he can be unplayable at times. Sarr is a tricky one because he loves to perform against Liverpool. Honestly, even when he used to play for Watford, he would just turn up all of a sudden. So he definitely likes to step up when it comes to Liverpool. Um, and I think Adam Wharton will be interesting because I feel like he's the one that's going to be the real force in the midfield, and he's going to be the deep playmaker as well at the same time. So that's the kind of team that I'm expecting. So I'm expecting a very strong Palace team. Now, in terms of Liverpool, this is the team that I'm going to go for tomorrow. So let's build a team together. So I don't think Allison will be rushed into the limelight so soon. So I think he's still going to train with the squad, and I expect him to be starting next week against Bournemouth. But for this fixture, I'm going to go for Mamadashvili. On the right hand side, I'm going to go for Frimpong because I don't believe Bradley is available. So for me, Frimpong starts at right back. On the left, it's going to be Kerkez over Robertson and Tsimikas for me. Then you've got Van Dijk on your left side, and then Konate to complete the backline. So a strong backline there, if I can spell Konate's name properly. There you go. So that's the back four. Now, in terms of the double pivot, I'm going to go for Gravenberch. I've been very impressed with Gravenberch's recent performances in the pre-season fixture. I think he's done really well, especially in the last game. Really showed his quality, and I was impressed in terms of his sort of forward thinking, where he was very aggressive on the ball, carried the ball quite a few times, and yeah, he looked really energetic. Which towards the latter part of the last season, you could tell he felt tired, a bit jaded. Right now, he's full of energy, and he's raring to go for the new season. Alongside him will be debatable, so let me know in the chat who you'd partner Gravenberch or who would be in your double pivot, because I'm going for Szoboszlai. And the reason I'm going for Szoboszlai is because for a couple of reasons. I've been very impressed with his performances alongside Gravenberch, but also McAllister picked up an injury or came to preseason, not fully fit. So I don't want to make or take any chances with McAllister. So I would rather, he's available from the bench. And then next week against Bournemouth, he will be in stronger contention to start, in the lineup. Kind of similar scenario with Allison, where I don't want to rush him so soon right now. And I think with McAllister, having him as an option off the bench works well. So for me, that is the double pivot I'm going for. And also, Groundwork will be suspended. I believe he picked up a red card last season. So that rolls over, it's not forgotten about. It rolls over to the new season. So because of that, it might be worth starting Szoboszlai there, and then McAllister comes on for like the last half an hour. They combine together, and then they'll be the first choice center midfield pairing for our first game against Bournemouth. So that's why I feel like let's not rush back Alistair, because he will most likely start ahead of Gravenberch due to his suspension next week anyway. So for me, that's the double pivot there. And then I'm going for Salah on the right hand side. No real debates there. Unless you're a huge Ben Doak fan, then you might have something to say, but I don't think many of us would. And big question, do you go for Gakpo or Rio? I would go for Gakpo, but I would have Rio on the bench. I think he could come on for like the last 20 minutes and cause havoc to the Crystal Palace defense. So we'll use him as a secret weapon if needed. And then Florian Wirtz, of course, starts in that attacking midfield role. And up top, no Darwin Nunes. So, of course, it's going to be Ekitike. So, that is my predicted lineup. So feel free to let me know in the chat who you would start in this team. Um, and in terms of the score prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Liverpool. I think we're going to be very solid in this game. I don't see us leaking too many goals, but I don't feel like we'll be all guns blazing either. But I feel like we'll play some attractive football. And I think, if we're able to keep a clean sheet, that would be a great result for us. And teams against Crystal Palace is going to be our test next season because teams are going to play that low block. So we need to find solutions to break teams down, and this will be a good test for us before the season begins. So for me, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. And if in terms of goal scorers, Ekitike is going to score his first goal for the Reds. I'm going to go for the King in Mohamed Salah to score the second. So that's my prediction there. Feel free to let me know your score predictions in the chat or in the comments. And yeah, let me know who you think will be the goal scorers as well. Um, just going to go through some of the comments before we close the show. Let's start with Daz. So Daz has presented his lineup. So he's gone for Mamadashvili, Frimpong, Ibu, Van Dijk, Kirkes, Dom. So he's gone for Curtis Jones, which is interesting. And then he's gone for Verts, Mo, Ekatike, and Cody. So interesting lineup there. So you've gone for Jones instead of Gravenberg, whereas I've gone for Gravenberg in the double pivot. So yeah, very, very interesting lineup there. Anish has gone for a 3-0 victory to the Reds. We also have Anish for the scoreline. And Dad says, where can we pressure Palace Aussie? Going 3-0, Mo 2 goals and Ekatike. So for us, I think what I'm excited to see is how our fullbacks play because they're going to play with a back three and they've got wing backs in their team. So I feel like with our fullbacks, even though we're playing a back four, I feel like we're going to push them so far down that they'll end up playing a back five. And that pretty much creates a low block for us. So for me, it's going to be interesting to see how Kirkes and Frimpong do. How do they attack? Because the great thing about both of these players is that they're not just, one dimensional. They're not just going to attack the byline. That's not how they play. In fact, with Kirkes, he loves to go infield. That's his game. That's his natural game as a fullback. So he's the fullback that for me that's going to invert or go, on the underlap, I guess. And then Frimpong is the one that's going to go on the overlap, but he can also, make diagonal runs inside the box and find himself in goal scoring positions. And I feel like his partnership with Salah is blossoming quite well in preseason games. So I'm excited to see how they perform today together as well. In terms of, our midfield, I'm excited to see how Gravenberg and Szoboszlai combine because in preseason they've looked energetic, they've looked very hard to beat. I think Szoboszlai still needs to improve in some parts of his game. So in terms of ball retention, he's not quick on the turn, so he's always going to get players pressing on him. So he needs to improve that where he's a bit more calm, a bit more composed, or he's a bit more alert in those kind of situations. So kind of need to have eyes on the back of your head. Um, if he can work on that game, which is something you don't have to be, you have to be born with those kind of skills. It's you're able to gain that experience with hard work and training. So if that's something he can add to his game, then he could be unstoppable in that role. He really could. So I'm excited to see them two together because I feel like they're going to set the tempo in terms of how we play. I'm looking forward to seeing Florian Wirtz. Of course, Salah Gakpo. I know what to expect from them, but in terms of Wirtz, you know, just the way he controls the ball and glides with the ball, it's a beautiful sort of a vision to see because he's an artist. The way he just makes the game look so simple. Uh, I feel like he's going to have such a great impact in this team. I'm even going to go as far as saying I think he'll provide the assist for both of the goals that I'm predicting. So I'm excited to see how he does, and I think he's the one that's going to be the key to unlocking those low block defenses. I feel like that's how much of an importance he's going to have for us. So yeah, should be exciting. I'm excited to see how Ekitike does. I think he's going to continue to build on his recent cameos, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how he performs against a back three because he's not a static striker. He likes to move around. So that will cause a lot of uncertainty with Crystal Palace. And let's see how he performs against Mark Gay, who could potentially be a Liverpool player coming up. So yeah, I guess we can have our Liverpool scout hats on in terms of watching Gay, see how he does. But from a Liverpool point of view, we can enjoy the new additions we have in the squad and the new dynamics. I'm expecting us to play a bit more free-flowing football. I'm expecting us to be a bit more aggressive in the opening 10, 15 minutes, which is not what we were accustomed to seeing last season. Last season, we were more calm, composed, didn't really go out of the blocks so quickly. So I'm excited. So yeah, it should be a good game. And yeah, hopefully Liverpool can get the win. And people be like, "Oh, it's only a community show," but obviously every silverware is nice silverware. I wouldn't count the cup we won last week in Japan against Yokohama. That's not something I include. But community show is a good sort of like good way to start your season. I wouldn't boast about it as one of our trophies. 'Cause I know Arteta did that last year, which was shameful behavior from the manager there. But he's clutching. He can't really talk about anything else, can he? So yeah, for me, it's just more of a confidence builder. And of course, when you win things, even if it's a trophy that is not a prestige trophy, it just gives you that like winning mentality or gives you that taste of, winning trophies. And I feel like that would be a good sort of feeling to have within the squad, especially we've got new players as well. So it will build that sort of relationship amongst the players and they'll be like, look, you've got a little taste, of us winning the community show when we go on and challenge for the title and for the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League. This is just like the beginning for us. So for me, exciting times ahead to be a Liverpool fan, and I'm looking forward to this game tomorrow as well. Just gonna go through some more of the comments before I close the show. Um, Real McCoy says Palace 4-0. I'll be saying 4-0 to us and not to Palace. 'Cause then I feel like you're just trolling right there. Voidfin says Isak is up for sale, just not until a replacement comes in. That's the vibe I get as well. But I feel like Liverpool waited so long for Newcastle to find that replacement. I just want us to place our bid and then get that player over the line. And then, whoever they want to replace Isak with, do it in your own time. Don't do it in our time because I feel like we're just wasting time. We've got other players to address or other positions to address in our squad. We still need a centre back. We still need a left winger, in my opinion. So, Isak's not the only person that we're after or the final piece of our puzzle. We still need to address a couple of positions. So that's why I feel like Liverpool just need to make that official bid next week. And then we can move on and try and start discussions with other players in other positions as well. Graham, big up Graham. He says Isak for sale and will go 145 million. Monday night football at St James Park. Monday night will be electric. I can understand Isak signing. It's a hierarchy of football, but the way he went about it is a disgrace. Yeah, the thing is, we don't know the ins and outs. From what I've read and the vibe that I'm getting is that he's been promised something in terms of being able to get his move this summer, and Newcastle are blocking it in every shape or form, whether that's from offering him a new contract or whether that's just them being very you know not very responsive to bids or approaches from clubs, i.e. Liverpool, because we're the ones that are showing the strongest stance right now. So that's where his frustration, his annoyance comes from. And look, if he's pretty much gone AWOL or if he's, gone off and done whatever he wanted, he would have been fined by now. He hasn't received a fine. He's not been punished by the club. The only element of punishment is that, oh, he's been told to train by himself. But then some rumors were saying, oh, it's because he's injured. But then, I don't think that's the case. I think Eddie Howe confirmed that today that he's not injured. So they're giving him that silent treatment, but that's not really a punishment, is it? It's to basically protect their own squad to make sure they're not impacted by the speculation. So they know eventually, he will leave. They know they have to sell him at some point because it's so far gone now where bridges have been burnt. You can't really, resurrect that relationship anymore with the fans and the club. So for me, just need to get that deal over the line. Honestly, only a matter of time, I would say. Um, Graham said Wissa signing on Tuesday for Newcastle United. Stop stressing. I've heard the Wissa one for a long time, but I don't think Wissa is the Isak replacement. The Isak replacement apparently is Samuel Gahowa. So I don't know if there's any truth to it. They were linked to Kolomwani yesterday, but that rumor's been dismissed and pretty much he's staying at Juventus now. He doesn't want to move to Newcastle. He's not interested in that move. So I'm confident. I feel like you're trying to assume that I'm not confident about Isak. I've been saying it for quite a while. If you're new to the channel, keep watching because you'll know my stance in terms of Isak. I've said it for a few weeks. We are going to get Isak. I'm very confident that we will. Right now, fans are frustrated, and I understand it. It's just a matter of time. I feel like we'll get that deal very, very soon. Um, but we're just waiting for Newcastle, I guess. Like you said, waiting for them to get their deals, all the replacements done, and then we'll take it from there. But I'm very positive that we'll get Isak eventually in this window. Graham says he went on strike, mate. He has a contract. Yeah, he went on strike, but he's probably got reasons for going on strike because promises were broken, wasn't it? So I think he will be a Liverpool player. Only time will tell. Mostly, can we still get Isak? I think we can, Momo. I think Liverpool just being very nice, very polite to let Newcastle find the replacements, and then we make that official offer. But I've said it. I don't want that to be the case anymore. I'm getting a bit bored of it. I feel like we've been too nice in this situation. We need to be a bit more aggressive. Place that offer of 120, 125, 130, whatever the fee is, whatever the fee they want. Put that offer down, and let's see if they're about their business. Because if they don't accept that, they're not going to be able to sign all these players that they're linked with right now. I feel like they're signing these players based on thinking that they've got credit in the bank because they don't have the finances. So only time will tell, if those deals happen. But I'm very positive that Isak will come through. And from a Liverpool point of view, I hope we can also get a centre back as well as a winger. In my eyes, the most ideal situation for that winger would be a right winger that is left footed but can also play on the left wing. That way, you've got direct cover for Mohamed Salah, and then you pretty much presented a pathway for Rio for that left wing position. So Rio gets to break into the team and challenge Gakpo, but also you've got a player that can cover right wing or left wing. If Rio's not up to scratch or isn't quite ready yet, he should cover left wing as well. So you've covered all premises, in my opinion. That would be the profile that I would go for. Now, in terms of names, there's a player I like from Monaco called Akliuche, who is a fantastic player. Uh, I thought PSG were on the verge of signing, but I don't know if there's any more sort of developments in terms of that story. So that kind of profile would tick all our boxes and still give Rio the pathway to play on the left wing in the first team. But right now we can only speculate and present our theories and all that sort of stuff. But hopefully we'll get some official news, and once we do, we'll be breaking it on the channel and we'll be talking about it as a collective. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Uh, thank you to everyone. Thank you to Daz. Thank you to Brad Pitt fan. Thank you to Mazzy. Thank you to AR. Thank you to Daz. Thank you to Roger Painting. Thank you to AR. Thank you to who else do we have? Thank you to Real McCoy. Thank you to LSC20. Thank you to Sean. Thank you to Taylor Made. Thank you to Anish. Thank you to Voidfen. And thanks to Graham and thank you to Momo for your comments. Appreciate your engagement as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of upcoming shows, we will be doing a show tomorrow. Of course, we'll be doing the live watch along of Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. I believe it's a 4 o'clock kickoff, isn't it, tomorrow? Uh, it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. My apologies. So I will be live um, just before 3 o'clock so we can discuss the lineups together. And then, yeah, feel free to get involved in the chat. We'll watch the game together, talk football, talk transfers if you want to have a discussion about that as well. And yeah, so that's what we'll do tomorrow. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all tomorrow. Goodbye.